Hello and welcome to AJT or NGT Mandala Artist .art videos. In my last video I made a really simple and straightforward .art design that you can see on the cardstock. I needed to give that time to dry in order to then show the dotting on top, or the top dots, depending on what people want to call them. They've got a variety of names, again totally dependent on what the person's choice is. So really simple and straightforward design using the colour palette that you can see in front of me. Blue and gold for those highlights, complete contrast, joins in with the reds and the pinks quite nicely, and a red and pink palette. Variety of dotting tools, the standard sort of, as I said, tools there, which are the manicure tools. There's also a transfer punch set where you can just about see there. Again, as I said, I haven't brought in the paint brushes because those are certainly something that we'd use when you are much more experienced at the dotting, because they take a lot more control than the manicure tools or the transfer punch set does. Excuse any slight kind of confusion in words. Not at my best, not had enough coffee to drink yet today, so that's the reason. 1 cup of coffee needs to be 2. I'm going to start with some of the smaller dotting art tools, the transfer punch set. As you can see, if I put that into the centre circle, there is actually room between it, there we go, room between it and the edge of the circle. So that's where I'm going to start with my initial top dot in the very centre, and I'm actually going to use gold on top of the blue. As before, I clean them, and then that's my cleaning done. Makes life very, very easy for me. If you then look, I've got the large pink. Again, I'm going to top dot into the large pink, but I'm going to choose a slightly contrasting pink colour to go inside those. So I'm going to have this one going inside these. Not huge, but gives me the top dot that I want inside each one of these. Again, excuse the slightly sort of stilted conversation, but there's a bit of concentrating going on at the same time. If you don't concentrate, those top dots have a habit of kind of coming off centre and looking really weird, and then you've got to think, well, how am I going to sort that out? Am I going to put a bigger dot in? How do I change it to get it the way that I want it to be? I'm then going to go on to the manicure tools for the other top dots. So I'm going to start with, again, using the bigger dots. I've got there my matte pink. I want to liven those up a bit. They're very flat at the moment, so I'm going to choose my nice bright red, which will go in the centre of these. I'll probably come round having done a bright red and later on put a gold in them, depending on how long this takes to dry. If it's pretty quick, I might get it done during the course of the video. If it takes time, it's going to be something that I will add later on. If you're not happy with the size of the top dot, as before, just add a little bit more paint, give it a bit of squidge with your manicure tool, and it will actually get bigger. I'm then going in a set to these. You can see I've got this blue run. I want to actually echo my blue run in my other dots. So I've got a larger dot and then a smaller dot that I'm top dotting as well. So my large and then my small. And the small will take a quick dib from the dotting tool because I'm already loading it to make the one further out. So this one further out is going to the loaded paint and then a little dip of paint. Load and little. Load and little. Load and little. If you're trying to be do a small amount like that, it's a very, very, very light touch to the card and you'll get that paint transfer. Again, cleaning the tools in between makes one's life so much easier. Now I've got my middle row here without anything. I'm going to put my gold on top of them because I love that combination of red and gold. It really stands out and it makes everything look kind of quite royal in its own way. That one wasn't totally on centre. There you go. It's very similar to what I said before. You just let the paint almost be sucked off your dotting tool by the paper or cardstock or canvas that's underneath, because they will absorb down one to the other. Now I'm coming up to this outer row here, and this outer row I actually want to top dot down. So again, I'm walking the dots, I'm loading it for the first one and then using less and less paint, which is part of the walking the dots technique, as I move down the dots. So less and less is coming on as you move down. You do find if you don't clean your dotting tool in between, you can just about see on mine now, it's kind of beginning to build up with paint. Depends on whether you want it to allow it to do that or not. I don't like that, because if you build up you then get much larger dots than you wanted, simply because you've got a ton of paint built up on your dotting tool. So again, there's my large dot, and as I walk my way down top dotting, the amount of paint naturally reduces as it does with a walking the dot technique. 2 more sets, 1, and finally set 2. I don't want to do too much top dotting on this because it's a pretty simple design to start with. If I put too much top dotting on, it's going to look overpowered. You don't want it to look overpowered. You don't want your top dotting to actually take away from what you have initially done as your design. So these aren't totally dry, but be careful with my gold. There we go. I can get my gold right into the centre of the red that I added. So the red isn't totally dry, but it's happily accepting some gold right in that very centre dot and just lifting the design a little bit at that point. The top dot colours can be used if you think that you've made something too heavy, to then lighten your colour palette and actually bring things out. As you can see, initially I only dotted round half of the dots at this point with gold. I now actually want to echo this in the opposite direction, but starting with my large dot further in and then taking them out. So I'm going to do this in the opposite direction to usual. Instead of having a large dot at the top, I'm going to have my large dot in the centre, and it's going to work out round. So if I count those, before I did 4, so I'm going to do exactly the same this time. 1, 2, 3, 4. So it's kind of a mirror image in reverse of what I've already got on there. But it's easier to let it dry and then do them afterwards. 1, 2, 3, 4. So I'm purposely not actually joining these things up. I don't want them to join. I want it to look, as I said, mirror imagey. Got mirror images working round. And that's the sort of thing you can do. So when you've made your initial design, you can look at it and say, well, I want to add something here. It's a bit flat, it's not got enough on it. I want to add something here. And it's a lot easier to add when your design has dried and you're able to see it, because you can see where those gaps are, where you want to add something, where you don't want to add something, which is equally valuable, because sometimes the addition of extra paint, extra dots, can sometimes detract from the design rather than add to it. So that's where I am at present. My last set of additional dots is going to come again from the blue, because I've got lots of blue in the centre. I need to tie that blue in at the top, and you can see I've got this kind of straight through. I'm going to add on just 3 at the end of each arm, very tiny, 3 tiny dots, because that's then going to take that blue out to the edge of my design. Otherwise I lose the blue because it's all in the centre. There's nothing at the outside, which is where I need it as well. If you don't put it to the outside of the design, you kind of have this very heavy centre, a lighter middle, and then nothing at the edge, so you lose what's going on. By putting this extra blue around the edge, although there's only a very small amount of it, it continues to draw your eye outwards, and that's what you're wanting to do. You don't just want the concentration going on, right, there's loads and loads of design in the centre, then it kind of becomes a bit paler and it vanishes. And I don't want it to vanish, I want it to continue. I want that flow of images all the way through. Just looking at my dots, I'm quite happy with my centre dotting with my top dots. I can't see anything at this point in time that I feel the need to add, but again, once you've let it dry, you can go back to it and say, right, I really just want to add a little bit of colour here, something to lift it. You may want to accent it in a different colour. I've used golds, pinks, reds, blues. I may feel that coming back later on I just want to add a hint of glitter to it. I've got some glittery gold that might go on, or a little bit of what's called clotted cream. It's somewhere between a gold and a silver and a white. It's a very pretty colour. So there we go, the design. Let me see if I can move this up. There we go. So we've now ended up with that as our design. It's completely changed from where it started due to the addition of those top dots. There we go. So hopefully you've enjoyed this AJT Mandala Artist video. You can find me on Instagram at Artistry and Craft. I'll see you all soon. Bye bye.